Hey, it's Ryan from upfitsupply.com, and in this video we're going to be unboxing the Legend SecuriAnchor hardware kits. Let's get into it. All right, I have here two different kits from Legend. One is going to be specific for Ford Transit vans, and the other is going to be for basically every other van. So I'll start with the Ford Transit kit just to give you an idea. It kind of explains the other kits as well. Now what this is, it's a hardware kit for attaching your shelving and equipment to Legend flooring. Now, this was really developed out of necessity for EVs or electric vehicles. So you think of the E-Transit, the ProMaster EV, and the E-Sprinter. They all have batteries that sit below the cargo floor. And so traditionally, when you install your shelving, your tank racks, your cabinets, whatever, it's going to be attached to the floor. You're going to drill a hole in the metal floor of the van, you're going to install a plus nut, you're going to attach your shelving and equipment directly to the van floor. Now, because there's a battery under those EVs, you can't drill into the floor because you're going to puncture the battery or other major electrical components. And so what Legend did, being the premier flooring manufacturer for cargo vans, is they developed flooring that was rigid enough and strong enough that you could attach your equipment directly to the floor rather than to the van itself. And so in order to attach your equipment to that floor, you need one of these hardware kits. And now the Transit is a little bit different because it's the only cargo van that doesn't have cargo rings or D-rings that are built into the floor of the van. All the other vans have that. And so the Transit actually has the cargo rings essentially on the walls of the van. And so Legend gives you these brackets that essentially tie into those mounting locations on the wall and secure the floor to the bracket. That way the floor is secured to the chassis, the van itself, to give you a nice secure surface. It stabilizes the floor so that you can mount your equipment to that. So you're gonna have brackets here that are specific for the Ford Transit. Looks like there's going to be 5 different brackets for your 5 different cargo ring locations. I think this one goes around a pillar, maybe the C-pillar or something like that. And then you have some others here. And then we're going to get some hardware for attaching these brackets both to the vehicle. So we're going to have our larger, I think these are probably M8 bolts that are going to be used for securing the brackets to the van itself. Looks like there's some washers in here as well. And then we're going to have basically the rest of our hardware, which is going to be the same as the other kits, which is going to be for mounting your equipment to the floor. So the first thing that's going to be necessary really with any floor is the floor needs to be secured to the chassis, secured to the van. Now traditionally that's done in the ProMaster and the Sprinter and your other vans because the D-rings or the cargo rings, when you're installing the floor, you're going to take those rings out, put the floor in, there's holes existing in that floor. You're going to reinstall those rings, and that secures the floor to the van itself. And then you're going to use these nutserts to essentially install your equipment and attach it to the floor itself. So our Transit kit here has the brackets for securing the floor to the frame of the van. All the other vans, the floor is already going to be secured because of those D-rings in the floor. So you take all of these Transit specific components out of the way, you're going to be left with the remainder of the hardware, which is going to be those nutserts and corresponding bolts. So the first thing that we have here are going to be these threaded nutserts. And so the way that these are installed is you're going to drill a hole that matches the size of this nutsert. Then you're going to thread this onto the floor. There is a little Allen head or hex head area right here. You can use an Allen wrench and actually thread it into the floor. And then it's threaded beneath that so you can then put your shelving end panel or whatever needs to be mounted to the floor, put your bolt right through that, and it's going to thread right into those nutserts. Nice thing about these bolts is they already have the serrated flanged head, so you're not gonna have to use washer and a lock washer, so it just eliminates some hardware right there. So this is your nutserts, these are your bolts. Looks like you get, I think it's 20 of them in the kit. I think sometimes they throw some extras in there as well. And again, it's gonna be the same exact thing for our Transit. We just have some of the Transit hardware mixed in, but you can see, again, we have that same, I think this is probably a 3/4 inch bolt right here. Again, have our nutsert right here for threading into the nutsert. Now, another cool thing about this kit, specifically this one right here, it's not gonna apply for the transit kit. If you get the Legend Bed Boss, which is a truck bed floor, or truck bed mat, it's a rigid mat, you can also use these on that. So if you need to attach your toolbox brackets or what have you to the bed of the truck, rather than going into the bed of the truck, actually attach it to the flooring itself, same type of deal. Drill a small hole for this, thread this into the floor, and then you can attach your equipment using one of these bolts. So pretty simple installation, damage-free. You know, it's a reversible install, so you're installing into the floor or into the bed mat itself rather than into the actual truck or into the actual van, so it's non-destructive installation. And then this is also going to be a necessity if you do have that EV, if you want to attach equipment to the flooring rather than the van itself, you're going to want to get a kit like this. Now, if you get the Evolve flooring kit, it actually does include this, and if you get the Transit Evolve floor, it's going to include these brackets as well. If you just want some additional hardware for attaching more equipment and things like that, you can also order this separately. So pretty simple unboxing, pretty simple kit, but incredibly useful for preserving the life of your van. Now, if you're looking for these kits or any other equipment to get your van or truck ready for work, we've got what you need at upfitsupply.com. Again, my name is Ryan. Have a good one.